Okay, picture the scene. It's late July 1920. We're in Boston on School Street, and the heat is just oppressive. It's that sticky, sweltering summer kind of heat.
Right.
And outside this really generic office building, there's absolute chaos. I'm not talking about a line of people waiting for a sale. I mean, this is a mob.
Thousands of people.
Thousands, panicked, angry people crowding the street, shouting, shoving. They're all there for one thing. They want their money back.
It's the ultimate nightmare scenario for any kind of financial institution. It's a run on the bank, but, turned up to 11. The tension must have been just explosive.
Totally. And in a situation like that, if you're the man responsible, convention says you're probably halfway to the border by now, right?
Or you're barricaded in a back office with the lights off, just praying.
Exactly. But that is not what happens here.
No. And this is where the story just immediately defies all expectation. Because the man at the center of this whole storm, Charles Ponzi, he doesn't hide.
He opens the front door. He steps right out into this hostile crowd, and he's not looking for an escape. He's wearing this pristine, custom-tailored designer suit, and he's smiling.
He has to face them. He works the room.
He starts handing out coffee, donuts, and then, just to prove he's good for it, he starts handing out cash.
Which is just an incredible psychological power move.
Right.
I mean, over the next 3 days, he gives out over $2 million in cash.
Yeah.
Right there on the street.
And it worked. The mob cheered him. They went from wanting to tear him apart to calling him a wizard. But of course, as we know now, the magic was just simple arithmetic, and the numbers were about to run out.
They were. And today, we are doing a deep dive into exactly how that happened. You all know the term Ponzi scheme. It's become shorthand for this type of fraud.
Right.
But what's so fascinating to me is the actual mechanism. Most people don't know how Charles Ponzi actually claimed he was making all this money.
Yeah, we just assume he was a thief from day one. But the reality is so much weirder. We're going to look at the man himself from arriving in America with, loose change in his pocket to making $250,000 a day.
We want to figure out that exact moment. When did the entrepreneur become the criminal? We're going to unpack the psychology, the legitimate business idea that started it all, and even his second act in Florida that almost nobody talks about.
So let's rewind. Long before the designer suits and the donuts. Let's go all the way back to 1903. Charles Ponzi arrives in Boston on a ship from Italy. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at a very young, very ambitious guy. He's 21 years old, and he is the definition of starting from nothing. He steps off that boat with exactly $2.50 in his pocket.
$2.50. I mean, that's not even a sandwich today.
And yet the sources describe him as having this incredible, just enduring entrepreneurial spirit. He barely spoke English at first, but he picked it up incredibly fast. He bounced around, taking any job he could find: waiter, translator, dishwasher. He was a hustler.
But, and here's where I want to pause. This wasn't just a wholesome, pull yourself up by your bootstrap story. Because even early on, Ponzi had a really complicated relationship with the rules.
He did. Before the big Boston scheme in 1920, he had already seen the inside of a prison cell. Twice.
Okay, let's unpack that rap sheet, because I think his first arrest actually explains everything that happens later. This was in Montreal.
Yes, around 1907. He got a job at a place called Bank Sarossi. And this is crucial context. The bank catered specifically to Italian immigrants. They paid high interest to help people save money to send back home.
But the bank gets into trouble.
Right. Bad real estate loans. And the bank manager, Zarossi, he decides to solve the problem by paying the interest on the old deposits using the money coming in from new depositors.
Wait a minute. That sounds incredibly familiar.
It's the exact blueprint. Ponzi wasn't running the bank, but he was a teller. He saw it happen. He watched the mechanics of it firsthand. He saw that as long as confidence was high and new money kept flowing in, nobody noticed the vault was actually empty.
Until the music stopped.
Exactly. The bank failed. Ponzi was broke again. And in a moment of desperation, he forged a check to try and get some money to go back to the U.S.
And got caught.
Immediately. He spent 3 years in a prison in Montreal. Then, as soon as he gets out, he gets involved in a scheme smuggling Italian immigrants across the border.
Which landed him in an Atlanta prison for another 2 years. So by 1919, he's back in Boston. He's married. He's nearing 40. And he is completely broke.
Worse than broke. He's trying to launch a trade magazine. It's failing. He can't pay his office rent. He is just desperate for a win. And that desperation is a key ingredient here.
And he thought he found it. In the mail, of all places, this is the big aha moment. The International Reply Coupon.
The IRC.
Okay, you have to break this down for me, because when I read postal coupon, I don't immediately think million-dollar empire.
Yeah.
What exactly was this thing?
It's actually a pretty clever and legitimate system. So imagine you're in the U.S. in 1919, and you want to send a letter to someone in Spain, and you want them to write you back. You don't want them to have to pay for the postage. So you'd buy this coupon, an international reply coupon, at your post office. You put it in the letter, the person in Spain takes it to their post office, and they trade it for a Spanish stamp to send the reply.
Okay, simple enough. It's like a global voucher system.
Correct. But here's the loophole. The treaties that set the prices for these were made before World War I. They had fixed exchange rates. But after the war, currencies in Europe, especially Italy, had just crashed. The Italian lira was massively devalued against the U.S. dollar.
I think I see where this is going. The price of the coupon was fixed, but the money you used to buy it was basically worthless.
Ponzi realized that in Italy, you could buy one of these coupons for fractions of a cent in U.S. terms. But if you brought that same coupon to Boston, the U.S. Post Office was legally obligated to swap it for a U.S. stamp worth significantly more.
So he could buy a coupon in Rome for, say, a penny?
And then exchange it in Boston for stamps worth 6 cents.
That is actually brilliant.
It is. It's called arbitrage. Buying low in one market, selling high in another. Ponzi did the math and figured for every dollar he invested in coupons, he could get about $3.30 worth of stamps. A profit of around 400%.
And just to be clear for everyone listening, was this specific trade, the coupon swapping, was that illegal?
No. And that's what's so wild. The underlying idea was technically legal. It was just taking advantage of a currency imbalance. He had found a genuine inefficiency in the market.
So he launches the business, borrows some money, sends it to family in Italy, tells them to buy a stack of these coupons.
And it works. He makes a profit on the first small batch. But now he wants to scale. And he needs capital. So in late 1919, he sets up the Security Exchange Company. And he makes an offer that sounds way too good to be true.
Double your money in 90 days.
Right. And later, he sweetens it to 50% profit in just 45 days.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, banks are paying maybe 5% interest a year.
So why did people buy in? I mean, that's an insane promise.
Because the story made sense. He explained the postal coupon arbitrage. He showed them the math. It sounded like this foolproof secret loophole in the system.
But there was a catch. There's always a catch with that kind of scale.
The catch was logistics. It's one thing to do this with $10. It's another to do it with millions. To make that kind of money, he'd need to transport literal ships full of coupons across the Atlantic.
And even if he got the stamps, you can't pay your investors with stamps. You can't buy groceries with them. He'd have to sell them all to get cash.
Exactly. And dumping millions of stamps on the market would have crashed their value. The liquidity just wasn't there. He hit a wall.
So this is the moment. This is the crossroads where the entrepreneur dies and the criminal is born. He knows the business model doesn't work at scale, so what does he do?
He stops buying the coupons.
He just stops the whole operation.
Pretty much. He realized it was impossible. But instead of telling his investors, sorry, the math doesn't work, he just keeps taking their money. And when the first investors come looking for their 50% profit, he just takes the cash from the new guys and gives it to the old guys.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
The classic definition. And while the sources note a guy named William Miller did something similar back in 1899, Ponzi did it with such flair. It became named after him.
It's amazing because at first it worked perfectly. The early investors got paid, they got their money, plus the insane interest. And what do people do when they get a big win?
They tell their friends. Social proof. It's so powerful. Word spread through Boston like wildfire. There's this wizard on School Street giving 50% returns. And suddenly it's not just working class immigrants. It's Boston's elite. Police officers, businessmen. By June of 1920, he had nearly 8,000 customers.
And the money.
Yeah.
The descriptions of the money are just unbelievable.
It's literally overflowing. There were reports of office wastebaskets being stuffed with dollar bills because the safe was full. Desk drawers were jammed shut with cash.
And Ponzi is living the life. He's making, what, $250,000 a day?
Roughly. Adjusted for inflation, that's an astronomical sum. And he spent it. Bought a mansion in Lexington with a heated pool, which was extremely rare in 1920. He even bought a controlling stake in Hanover Trust Bank.
Buying the bank where you're hiding your stolen money is a bold move.
It was all about control. He was walking around Boston with a gold-handled cane, smoking cigars and diamond-studded holders. He wanted everyone to see his success, He was parading it.
But you can only defy gravity for so long. The cracks start to show, and it seems like it started with something incredibly small.
It did. A furniture dealer. He publicly claimed that Ponzi wasn't paying his bills, that some checks had bounced. It wasn't a lot of money, but it started a conversation.
And that caught the eye of the Boston Post.
The Post was absolutely instrumental here. They started publishing articles just asking the hard questions. Specifically, they pointed out that Ponzi wasn't investing his own money in the scheme. If it was such a gold mine, why share it?
That's a valid question.
Then the state officials get involved. And this is where his confidence, or maybe his delusion, is just, it's mind-blowing. He tells them, you know what? To prove I'm legit, I will voluntarily stop taking new money while you investigate.
Which is suicidal for a Ponzi scheme. The whole thing relies on new money coming in. If you shut off the tap, it all dries up.
But he did it to look cooperative. He thought he could talk his way out of it.
But you can't talk your way out of the math.
No. The U.S. attorney looked at his books. But the real smoking gun came from the post office itself. They did an audit of the coupons.
And what did they find?
They confirmed there simply weren't enough international reply coupons in existence to support Ponzi's claims. Even if he had bought every single coupon in the entire world, he couldn't have generated the profit he was claiming.
So the lie was exposed by a simple inventory.
Exactly. Ponzi tried to deny it. He sued the newspaper for libel. He spun this crazy lie about a secret network of agents all over Europe, but the game was up.
August 2nd, 1920. The headlines scream, insolvent.
And that brings us right back to that mob in the street. But this time, there were no donuts. On August 12th, Ponzi surrendered.
And the fallout was massive.
Oh, catastrophic. He owed about $7 million that just, it didn't exist. The total loss was around $20 million. 6 banks failed, including his own, Hanover Trust. Thousands of people lost their life savings. In the end, investors got back less than 30 cents on the dollar.
That's just heartbreaking. You think about the families, the immigrants who trusted him because he was one of them.
It really destroyed a community.
But, and this is the part I really wanted to get to, Ponzi wasn't done. You'd think after a collapse like that, you'd just go quietly. But reading the sources, his second act is almost crazier than the first.
It really speaks to his pathology, doesn't it? Even after the Boston crash, while he's out on bail, he flees to Florida.
Of course, Florida.
And he launches the Sharpen Land Syndicate.
Sharper pawn, as in Charles Ponzi. Very subtle.
He was selling land to investors, promising 200% returns in 60 days. This prime real estate near Jacksonville.
And let me guess, it was a swamp.
It was literally underwater. Some of the land was 60 miles from the nearest road. It was the exact same scam, just swapping postage stamps for mud.
So he gets caught again.
He gets arrested, sentenced to a year, released on appeal again, and this time he tries to flee the country for real.
A great escape attempt.
He heads to New Orleans to catch a freighter to Italy. And he tries a disguise. He shaves his head completely bald, grows a mustache.
Did it work?
No. He made the mistake of revealing who he was to a shipmate, probably boasting about it. The shipmate alerted the authorities, and they arrested him and sent him back to Boston to finish his jail sentence.
So he spends years in prison. Finally, in 1934, he gets deported back to Italy.
He tried a few more schemes there, but nothing worked. He eventually moved to Brazil, spent his final years working for an airline, but his health just completely failed.
And he died in a charity hospital in Rio de Janeiro in 1948.
Blind, partially paralyzed, and completely broke. He left behind a manuscript for an autobiography called The Rise of Mr. Ponzi, but he died with absolutely nothing.
It's a tragedy, but it's hard to feel too much sympathy, given the wreckage he left behind. So what does this all mean for us? Why does Ponzi's name stick when others are forgotten? I mean, we've seen bigger frauds since then. Bernie Madoff, Alan Stanford.
I think it's because Ponzi represents the ultimate betrayal of the American dream. He was the immigrant who made it big, the guy who cracked the code. He had that populist appeal. He wasn't some Wall Street insider. He was a guy on the street corner with a smile and a donut.
He told people he had hacked the system.
Right. And his story highlights this fundamental truth about human nature. We want to believe in the shortcut. We want to believe there's a secret magic trick that can double our money without any real effort. As long as that desire exists, there will always be another Charles Ponzi.
It really makes you wonder about the intent. You mentioned earlier he didn't necessarily start out to steal.
That's the most provocative part of this whole thing to me.
So here's a thought to leave you with. At what exact moment does an optimistic entrepreneur cross that line into being a criminal? Is it when they realize the business model has failed? Or is it the moment they decide to hide that failure? Ponzi could have admitted the coupon scheme didn't scale. He would have gone bankrupt, sure, but he wouldn't have been a monster. He crossed the line when he decided the illusion of success was more important than the reality.
Once you cross that line, it seems there's no turning back.
That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for listening and keep asking questions.
Stay curious.